Be alive.
Bismillah. So we were going through the different types of wudu. Previous week we covered that the first type of wudu is fard. It's mandatory, it's required, and that is the wudu that is performed for the salat, even if the salat may be nafl, supererogatory in nature. The second type of salat would be janazah. So wudu is mandatory for salatul janazah as well. وَسَجْدَةِ التِّلَاوَةِ, when a person comes across a verse where sajda is required, then to perform that sajda, one should be in the state of wudu. Number 4, touching the Quran. Touching the Quran, if a person wishes to recite the Quran and as a result picks up a Quran from the shelf, then that would be to touch the Quran. One should be in the state of wudu. It's fard to be in the state of wudu, even if he's going to recite one verse, or even if there's one verse written on a piece of paper and a person wants to touch that piece of paper with that one verse, then it is mandatory to be in the state of wudu. So these are all examples where wudu is fard. It's mandatory, meaning that if a person doesn't have wudu in any of these cases, the salat is not going to count, the janazah is not going to count, the sajdatul tilawa, the sajda of prostration, that is not going to count. Touching the Quran without wudu would be considered a sin. Okay, so this is when wudu is mandatory, it is required. The second is when wudu is wajib. When wudu is wajib, that it's a degree below mandatory. So, and the example that the author has given is to have wudu while doing tawaf. So if a person does wudu, right? If a person does tawaf without wudu, tawaf is going to count, but that person is going to be considered a sinner if he does it on purpose. If he does it on purpose, it's a different matter. If he unknowingly does tawaf and later finds out, well, I didn't have wudu. But the tawaf is going to count. Other schools of thought, their understanding is a little bit different, where the tawaf doesn't even count. Right? The whole tawaf has to be redone. According to the Hanafi school, the tawaf does count. But if a person does it intentionally, sinner. If unintentionally, then repeat. وَالثَّالِث مَنْدُوبٌ, the third type of wudu is mandub. If a person is in the state of wudu, that person is going to be rewarded. So to sleep with tahara, to sleep with wudu, waking up as well. So when a person wakes up, one should wake up, go to the restroom, and then after that perform the wudu. وَلِلْمُدَاوَمَ عَلَيْهِ, also one should be in a perpetual state of wudu, meaning that if at any time the wudu breaks, for whatever reason, then immediately perform the wudu. So in this way, one is perpetually in wudu. And this was the habit of the Prophet ﷺ, that he would always be in a state of tahara. He would always be in a state of perpetual purity. وَلِلْوُضُوء عَلَى الْوُضُوء, and to do wudu upon wudu. So for example, if a person is in the state of wudu, sitting in the masjid, salat time comes, he's offered asr, maghrib time comes, he goes and performs wudu, even though he's already in the state of wudu. So that is wudu upon wudu. This too is mustahab. This too is mustahab. This is nurun ala nur. It's light upon light. وَبَعْدَ غِيبَةٍ وَكِذْبٍ وَنَمِيمَةٍ وَبَعْدَ كُلِّ خَطِيئَةٍ. So the author is saying that after backbiting, lying, tale-bearing, and after any type of sin, one should perform wudu. And the reason is clear, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that after any kind of sin, one should do something good. And wudu, this is rewarding. If a person does correct wudu, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards that individual, and as a result, that sin is extinguished. He is absolved from that sin. وَإِنْشَادِ شَعْرٍ قَبِيهٍ, also one should perform wudu if a person engages in illicit poetry, inappropriate poetry. Right? So there's two types of poetry. There's poetry that encourages, And then there's poetry that doesn't really encourage, it's just fahish. It's just immoral and illicit poetry. This poetry was very common in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Although this was the pinnacle of language, the Arabic at that time was at its height. And this is one of the reasons why the Quran is such a miracle, because the Arabic language was at its absolute pinnacle, absolute height, and this is what they had. They had their language. This was a source of pride for the Arabs. So when the Quran was recited to them, they had no response. They were just astonished that how is it possible that, we know the language so well. How is it possible that something as eloquent as the Quran can't be imitated? We can't contend with the Quran. We're masters of poetry. And their poetry, pre-Islamic poetry, was related to drinking, women, just vices. But it was very eloquent. Their poetry was very eloquent. They used different types of metaphors. It was very descriptive. It was very descriptive. You can really imagine what the poet is trying to tell you. That's how descriptive it was. So if a person engages in this type of illicit poetry, then it's recommended and it's mustahab to do wudu, because obviously it's a sin, right? To talk about women, to talk about wine drinking, to talk about sin. It is also mustahab and desirable to perform wudu if a person laughs out loud outside of salat. The reason is because according to the Hanafi school, if a person laughs loudly in the salat, two things take place. The first, the salat breaks. The second, the wudu breaks as well. Two things break. So the salat is broken if a person laughs loud. And laughing audibly, this is defined how? It is defined as a person laughing so loud that he can hear himself, or the person next to him can hear him. Right? So this is based on our estimation. Yes?
That doesn't include chuckling?
That's the...
Chuckling.
Chuckling?
Yeah.
Again, if a person laughs, so qahqaha, that would be inclusive of that, chuckling. So that would be a type of laughter.
So you have to hear yourself.
Yes, you have to hear yourself or the person next. There's some difference of opinion over here, but I think the preponderant opinion is that if the person next to you can hear you. So yes, if during the salat a person chuckles, laughs, right, then the wudu, not only is the salat broken, but the wudu is broken as well. And the wudu is broken not because there is any type of najasa, that there is exiting of najasa, but this is a penalty. This is a penalty. That how is it that a person, a Muslim, can laugh during the salat? So this is why, and obviously there's a hadith as well.
Smile's not included in that.
Huh? Smiling is not included. No, smiling is excluded. This is only strictly related to chuckling or laughing loud. And laughing loud to the extent that the person next to you can hear you. And even if we're offering salat alone, if we laugh and we know that definitely, if we were praying next to someone, they're going to hear, then yes, we would have to repeat the salat and we would have to repeat the wudu. That's zajr. That's a penalty for laughing in salat, laughing in prayer. So the point I'm trying to make over here is that the author has written that laughing outside of salat, right? Because this imitates a person who is laughing inside the salat. That's why it's recommended. It's mustahab to do wudu. It's mustahab to do wudu. If a person doesn't do it, no problem. Right? If a person doesn't do the wudu after laughing out loud outside of salat, it's not an issue. Right? It's not an issue. There's no sin. The author is discussing the mustahabbat, the desirable instances where wudu is a good thing and a person is going to be rewarded if he does wudu. وَغَسْلِ مَيِّتٍ. Also, after washing a body, right? When a person washes a dead body, and so upon completion, it's mustahab according to the Hanafi school to take a bath, to take a ritual bath. This is wajib in the other schools, as a matter of fact. In the Shafi school, I believe it is wajib. But according to the Hanafi school, it is not. It is not wajib. It's not mandatory. It's mustahab. وَحَمْلِهِ, also when lifting the janazah or carrying the janazah, right, carrying the bier. This too, it's mustahab after carrying the bier to perform the wudu. Yes?
So going back to being in the state of wudu and making wudu again.
Yes.
Does that include istinja, or is that what I was saying?
Yeah. After istinja as well, yeah.
Okay, so istinja, if you have wudu, you can go back, you can
Yeah.
istinja again, and wudu
Yes.
for the mustahab.
Yes. وَلِوَقْتِ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ, and also to perform wudu for each time the prayer comes in. وَقَبْلِ غُسْلِ الْجَنَابَةِ, also prior to the ritual bath taken when a person is in the state of greater impurity. Greater impurity, not minor impurity, where wudu is required to come into the state of purity so that salat can be offered and the Quran can be touched, etc., etc. But the greater impurity, right, where a person has to completely bathe and observe the fara'id of taking a bath. وَلِلْجُنُبْ إِنْدَ عَقْلٍ وَشُرْبٍ وَنَوْمٍ وَوَطْءٍ, also for someone who is in the state of greater impurity and he has not yet taken a bath, he's not taken a ritual bath, but if he wishes to eat or drink or sleep or engage in intimacy, right, with the spouse, then wudu is mustahab. Wudu is mustahab. It is desirable and recommended. وَلِغَضَبٍ, also if a person becomes angry. I don't think anybody does this. Yeah. But وَلِغَضَبٍ, when a person becomes angry, then it is desirable to do wudu. If people started doing this, then there would be no issue. وَقُرْآنٍ, also when reciting Quran from memory. Obviously, when touching the mushaf, right, you would have to be in the state of wudu. وَحَدِيثٍ, yes.
To go back to the greater state of najas.
Yes.
So you said that if you were to eat, you should make wudu, or engage in
intimacy, yes, with the spouse, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's if the ritual bath has not yet been taken.
Okay.
Yes. وَحَدِيثٍ, also when reciting hadith, one should be in the state of wudu. وَرِوَايَتِهِ, also when narrating hadith, one should be in the state of wudu. وَدِرَاسَةِ عِلْمٍ, when learning about deen, when acquiring knowledge, one should be in the state of wudu. أَذَانٍ وَأَذَانٍ وَإِقَامَةٍ, right? So it is desirable to be in the state of wudu when giving the adhan and iqamah. So that means, technically, if a person doesn't have wudu and gives adhan and iqamah, right, without wudu, adhan and iqamah is valid. Adhan and iqamah is valid. وَلِخُطْبَةٍ, even when delivering khutbah, wudu is mustahab. Wudu is mustahab, meaning that if a person during khutbah doesn't have wudu and delivers the khutbah in that state, and then, after the khutbah does wudu, leads the prayer, everything is valid. This is strictly according to the Hanafi school. وَزِيَارَةِ النَّبِي صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم, also when visiting the mausoleum of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one should be in the state of wudu. This is etiquette, that we should bathe, we should be in the state of wudu, we should anoint ourselves with perfume, wear our best clothing, and then present ourselves to the rawdah, to the mausoleum of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَوُقُوفِ عَرَفَةٍ, also when staying in Arafah. وَلِلسَّعْيِ بَيْنَ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةِ, and when walking between Safa and Marwa, the two mounts, the two hillocks, one should be in the state of wudu, meaning that if a person during sa'i, right, from Safa to Marwa 7 times, if a person doesn't have wudu, it's valid. right? Going between them, this is valid. وَأَكْلِ لَحْمِ جَزُورٍ. Also, it is mustahab that one should be, that after eating camel meat, one should do wudu. Why? Because this takes us out of the whole realm of divergent opinions. Because according to the other schools, it is wajib to do the wudu after eating camel meat. According to us, it is mustahab. And it is mustahab because it takes us out of that realm of divergent opinion. Right? You want to be considerate of the other schools as well. Yes?
What's the reason for that school?
It's the hadith and how they have interpreted the hadith.
You mentioned that?
The hadith is in Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said that after one should perform the wudu after if something has been cooked on fire. If something has been cooked on fire, one should do wudu. وَلِلْخُرُوجِ مِنْ خِلَافِ الْعُلَمَاء. Also performing wudu to again remove ourselves from the divergent opinions that jurists have. كَمَا إِذَا مَسَّ امْرَأَةً. For example, there are jurists that hold the opinion that touching the opposite gender, touching a woman breaks the wudu. Touching a woman breaks the wudu. So according to the Hanafi school, this is not the case. This is not the case. But the Hanafi school says that to be considerate of what the other schools say, it is best that one should do wudu. It is desirable to do wudu. It is mustahab, meaning that a person will be rewarded. So this completes this section. Inshallah, we will continue with those things which nullify the wudu next week. Jazakumullah khair.
Was reading Quran as listed as part of it?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. So if a person is reading Quran from memory, then it is mustahab to be in the state of wudu.
But how about the Mus'haf if you read it from
It's not. If a person is reading the Quran on the phone doesn't it doesn't become a mushaf. Yeah. This is like a reflection.
What about if you do sometimes people get the good news and then they do the sujood, or in the
Sajdat al-shukr.
Yeah, in the soccer they do the sujood. They really have a wudu.
Yeah, one should be in the state of wudu because that is a sajda. Right? Sajda is a part of salat.
Okay, that's a fard or wajib?
It would be fard. It would be fard. Yeah. Sajda al-shukr, any type of sajda, right? It would be fard. I mean, you have Muslims, that are playing soccer.
Yeah.
I mean,
they score the goal and then
yeah. The funny thing is that you have Muslims who are actually, they're fighting in a cage, right?
Okay.
UFC, ultimate MMA. So you have Muslims who literally just moments before they're punching someone in the face, and when they win, they're doing sajda. They're doing sajda in the middle of the ring, right? Just 5 minutes before you're punching someone in the face, and not only that, sometimes they don't even know because of their happiness, right? After they won, they don't even know that they're doing sajda on Budweiser or something. The Budweiser logo, and there's blood and everything, and they're just doing sajda because they're so happy. So, and I don't even know if they have wudu. I'm just, when I look at that, I'm just, it's such it's so paradoxical. Because just literally moments before, you're hitting someone in the face, kicking someone in the face, which is haram, right? Which is haram. There's just no way around it. And then we don't even know if you're in the state of wudu. And number 3, after the announcer, after the referee raises your hand, you go down in sajda. You don't even know where you're doing sajda. First of all, there's blood over there. There's so much najasat over there. And then you have a logo of one of these energy drinks, or worse, Budweiser, or one of these, alcoholic companies. And they're doing sajda on that. They don't even know.
Energy drinks are almost as bad as
But outside, I mean, these same Muslim fighters, they're very pious people outside.
Yeah.
Apart from the whole fighting thing, they're very pious. Their tajweed is good, their recitation is good. When you listen to their Quran, a lot of them are from like Kazakhstan, Dagestan, Chechnya, from Chechnya. So they're very like pious people. It's just that, I don't know, they like to fight.
So how about if someone, you're offering a janaza,
Yes.
and you realize that you never had wudu, there's no way you can repeat the prayer, right?
You can repeat the janazah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can repeat the janazah. If you did not do the janazah, right? For example, you have a relative who has passed, and you realize after the janazah that I didn't have wudu, then you can repeat it. Yeah.
So same dua you can read.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And how about the wudu breaks? I've seen a couple of people falling asleep during the khutbah in the masjid.
Yes.
So do they have to perform wudu again?
If they're sitting, and they're derriere is firmly on the ground, then it will not break the wudu. It will not break the wudu.
That's Hanafi or
That's Hanafi.
I see.
So if they're, this back is called derriere, right? So if they're sitting like this, and sometimes, the head comes like that, because, so it will not break the wudu according to the
So
Hanafi.
if you're snoring, you fall asleep and you
Again, if the derriere is firmly implanted on the ground, it will not break the wudu.
That question was asked to Sheikh Salman once,
Hmm.
and he said that may apply at that time, but because of the foods we eat right now, it might not apply.
It's possible. It's possible that is the case, because